Welcome. My name is William Madison Hawkins III, but I mostly go by Trey. I'm 24 years old, and I have a job at Supertarget, and I volunteer at the Veterans Hospital twice a week, and I make a difference. Thank you.
I started not to follow him. Thanks a lot, John. I am William Hawkins, and I am a member of the board, and very appreciative of it. As John mentioned, that you're going to get a great deal of information today. So, if you will, sit back, get comfortable, and take notes as needed. I prepared some words for today, and thanks to John, he offered a bit of counsel. But he also informed me to be me. I'm pretty casual in nature, and I figured that I'll just share a few thoughts. A couple of years ago, this was all new to me. Not parenting, even though sometimes some of the way things turned out you might wonder. I'm married with a beautiful wife of 29 years of marriage, and we dated 6 years in addition to that before we got married. We have 4 children, all very sharp, all very capable. Their ages are 28, 25, 21, and 19.
24.
Oh, sorry. Always get help. 24. And I want you to know that I've always been involved in all of their lives, especially Trey's. I've been involved with him as well as my wife because we do everything together, but been involved with him in academics, been involved with him in sports, in work, in church, and help us especially in his social life. At 24, he's given us a lot of, especially in his social life. But what I want to say that I had the fortune of being asked to attend a picnic a few years ago. And at that picnic, I met a wonderful man. And I met a wonderful family. That wonderful man is John Dickerson. And that wonderful family is the Ark. I've always prided myself on being a very resourceful person in everything that I do. And it wasn't until I became more and more involved with the Ark that I come to realize that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Through the Ark, I was able to become more informative, more empowered, and more knowledgeable about what's out there for Trey, for our family, and for others. I found that I was not alone. I also found that my thoughts and energy were needed. Please take a moment and look to the person to your left, and now look at the person to your right. Each of them are resources too. Many times we think we have to get up in the morning and don our cape and mask and take on the world in trying to navigate through the ways of life. But know that the Ark is an excellent resource in helping us navigate. I learned that through participation with the Master Trust, through the board, and especially through the self-advocates. If you don't know about the self-advocates, please take a moment sometime today or sometime soon and better understand the role they play. They are a very primary role with the Ark. Share a couple of stories for you real quickly, and then I'll introduce our next speaker. As I said, my wife and I are very involved with Trey during his development. He's a very active young man. He's active in church as he ushers. As he mentioned to you, he volunteers twice a week at the Veterans Hospital. But in recent years, he's encouraged me to, I guess, serve as a wingman with him as he goes to the clubs. Now, that concerns me a little bit because his age group is much younger, and here I'm sitting in the corner with my BlackBerry or iPhone and looking like, the old guy that I used to talk about when I used to club. As he matures, he has dated a nice young lady, but as in any growing up relationships, you part as friends, and he has the desire to continue to meet more friends. And so we decided to set up a speed dating event. And I say this because, and I say this again because my wife's in the audience, is that as we set this up and as I did the research for it, I had to go online to like Christian Mingles and eHarmony and what's another one? Match.com. Oh, yeah, Match.com. And I wanted to make sure that I kept her abreast of what I was doing so that I don't password protect my computer. And the last thing I want is to leave her the impression that I'm doing extracurricular activity. But just a couple other things that Trey's embarking on. He has had the opportunity to do some emceeing. He's also done acting. And we're in the process right now of establishing an internet radio station so that he and others can begin to have their own radio station program and involvement where under normal circumstances, Trey may not have had that opportunity. Very charismatic young man, but still like everything else, so much depends on opportunity. And so sometimes when it doesn't exist, you have to make it. So with all that being said, know that you don't have to be an expert today. As John mentioned, there's a lot of information out there. Take advantage of it, if you will. And as I mentioned before also, please take advantage of the self-advocates. Excellent, excellent resource. We're in a period of great change and one that is critical for all of us to get involved. With that, what I'd like to do is introduce one of my sheroes, is Kerry Fletcher. She's the chair of our Government Affairs Committee. She's on the board, and she has 2 children with fractional X syndrome. Wonderful lady. Please welcome Kerry.
You're my hero. Oh, I have to follow that. You won't be laughing, trust me, but there's a lot of sentiments that William said that are very true for our family as well. We're at a different stage in life. As William mentioned, we've got 3 children, 2 of which have Fragile X syndrome. They're 7 and 9, so we're at the bottom stages at this point. We've been on the waiting list for about 8 years now. We were diagnosed in 2004, and thankfully, the geneticist, the counselor, told us about the waiting list and that we needed to do that. So over the years, I've built a pretty good relationship with our contact who actually signed us up. She's still there, and she's very helpful, very up on things. So with that being said, let me just tell you how I got my start and how I became involved with the ARC and how it's really changed my life and gave it a real purpose and meaning. Way back when, after our diagnosis, I decided to organize a walk for Fragile X in my town of Zionsville. And somehow one of the local radio station or television stations heard about it. I think it might have been through Brent Carden, who is our local ARC chapter executive director. And they came to our house and filmed us and asked us about first steps, and it gave me an opportunity to talk about the ARC through that avenue. And then he asked me to join the board of the ARC of Boone County, and I was so excited and very green and naive about everything that had to do with people with disabilities. So for about 2 years, I sat and I listened, and I drank it in and learned a lot, even though I was in a different stage of the process with my children. And through that, I joined our legislative committee, and then was introduced to the ARC of Indiana through that with their GA committee, our governmental affairs committee. Knew nothing about politics, not interested. I did vote, probably not an informed voter, but a voter nonetheless. And so it's been a real learning experience in getting to know that the people who represent us and make the decisions for us need to hear our voices. They are people just like we are. They have questions. They don't know everything, which I thought they all did, but that's truly not the case. So it's given me an opportunity to become a little bit more brave and be active and call and meet personally with my representatives to let them know what's important to our family. And thankfully, they're listening. At the end of the 2011 session, it didn't seem as though they were listening as much as we would have liked them to. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. The Section 144, which has a big impact on the Medicaid waiver and all the services and the providers that serve all of you. So one thing I do want to share, though, and I'm sorry I'm saying a lot, we put together, after that legislation passed, we put together a committee, our Medicaid waiver task list, that was led by Erica Studerman, who also serves on our board. She did an amazing job of dividing up every single piece of that we had serious issues with. Put together small groups. Those groups got together for about a month and a half, and then we all met together, discussed our findings, and it was a very passionate discussion. So there's some real heart behind a lot of the things that you're going to hear today. And we were able to present that information to FSSA. And thankfully, in the interim, we had some leadership change in that division. So that's been a good thing as well. And so really, really listen well today. I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. I know with a lot of the articles or emails that you've received, some of the information might seem a little scary, especially some of those of you who have been in receiving services for a really long time. But I'm here to tell you that it's going to be a positive experience, and we're doing everything that we can to make positive changes. And your voices mean a lot to these changes. So for any of you that are unfamiliar with the ARC, please do your research, get involved, get on there are several messages that come through either on Facebook or by email. Just visit the website and really get to know what they have to offer. It's the best resource that you could possibly have on any aspect of the lives of people with disabilities. And their goal is the same as yours, is to make a valuable life for your children.